This episode of Super GG Radio is brought to you by our Patreon. Patrons of the show can get our Dogs of Super GG Radio newsletter, Super GG Radio stickers to slap on your closest PC or bag, input on what we cover, game nights with the hosts, and even a chance to win a copy of an indie we talked about. Not only that, but 90% of all patron contributions go to the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. Visit patreon.com/superggradio to learn more.
What's good, Internet, and welcome to session 289 of Super GG Radio, where friends chat about video games and all things adjacent. This is a minimalist podcast. Now, we'll put in minimal effort. Host, Eric Getty Gettinger. Introducing co-host, Alex Arona.
Alright, so do I do a Powerpuff intro, or do I talk about Fat Tuesday? Which one would you prefer? It's a choose-your-own-adventure podcast.
Thursday.
Fat Tuesday, man, I am all about the punchkis. I'm still eating them. I got a ton of them, man. Today was the Black Forest and the Bavarian Cream. They were awesome. I'm still so psyched. Happy Mardi Gras, everybody.
This is going to make for a very interesting podcast.
Mm-hmm. Other co-host, Joel DeWitte.
Hi, I'm Joel DeWitte. I liked video games and movies and TV shows. Let's play some Street Fighter.
Last co-host and tech support, Alec Parks.
Tech support's really all I bring to this podcast. I don't play games, so let's keep going.
You play concepts of video games.
Yes, I think about video games.
I think about video games. This week, video games were played. Friends were made. Aforementioned friends were lost. Joel monetized podcast. Aforementioned money is lost. Join us.
Every time. Every time.
Now we do early adopters, where we play alphas, betas, and games.
This is the worst episode ever.
Oh, no. Best episode ever.
I had very little time, and I see that everybody else put in the same amount of effort. So
it's okay. It's a streamlined episode.
Yeah. We're going to keep it nice and tight here. All right, so we did play video games this week, supposedly. And I supposedly played Vanguard Exiles.
Hey, so did I.
All right, so at least two of us played Vanguard Exiles, which is from the creator of Magic the Gathering.
Yep.
And his name is
that's
something Garfield.
What this
Richard
was.
Garfield, PhD.
Richard Garfield, not the cat.
That's what this was. Okay,
did you play
I was
it,
confused
Alex?
by what this. No, but I definitely was like, I've never heard of this before in my life, even though we talked about it last week.
Even though you're the one that recommended it, and you were like, hey, this is by that guy that made Magic the Gathering.
Aren't you also the Auto Battler superfan here?
He is.
I am.
There was one episode where he just did nothing but talk about auto battlers.
I vaguely remember that.
It was a good
Feel
episode.
a pang of terror every time I think about it.
Mm-hmm. That's. Do we even have that episode still, or did that get scrubbed in the Great Purge of 2023?
I hope it did.
I mean, I don't know. Anyway, Vanguard Exiles. I don't know what an auto battler is. I don't know what I played, but I sure was able to pick a... I don't even know if I'd call it a deck. All right, so what does the game visually look like? It is a top-down... You can call it an auto battler, whatever. You set your units inside of these little hexagonal squares, and then you press go.
Yep.
And you only have so many units, and after each turn, or each battle? Skirmish? It's
skirmish, yeah.
After each of the skirmishes, you get to, pick another card, or if you save up enough money, you can buy some of the better cards. And the cards can be units, or I played one of the clans, I'm going to call them clans, that had a just possession card. And you just drop it on a square and you get one of your enemy's units, as it were. And, stuff battled.
Yeah, randomized initiative until one side had won the battle over a hex, and then you spent 2 or 3 rounds conquering the hex before moving on to either assist other hexes or continue to conquer hexes because you were the only ones left.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And the overall battle lasted until you got to 80 victory points.
Yes.
Which, I don't know.
It was a lot.
It felt like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And
how long would you say the matches were?
Well, I sped mine up to double time after I realized that I could.
Me too. Which was like 4 rounds in. And then I was like, hey, what's this do? And that was much more manageable. Probably 10 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, depending on how strategic you were feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does feel like a little lengthy for me.
And it was kind of cool because there's a bit of deck building element to it with, as Getty said, you got to do your own cards or units after each battle, so you could go for a theme or modify the terrain or things like that. I got a bounty card that let me target one of my enemies and get extra gold for killing them. Yay.
That's helpful.
Yeah, it is.
Gold is very sparse in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like one after each skirmish, or sometimes the hexagons will have special perks for conquering it. I know that I didn't get one that specifically gave me any gold, but I did find one that gave my characters like extra hit points for the duration of the match. So if you are able to conquer that square, and it stayed around for a couple of rounds, so it didn't immediately disappear. And that's kind of what threw me off, is that at random times, so after each one of the skirmishes, another hexagon will appear on the map, but some of them will go dormant, and they'll just turn gray, and you won't be able to do anything with them. So I had like units that were trapped on the opposite side, and you really have to like divide your forces, and I didn't really feel very confident in the cards that I had. I had a bunch of acolytes, and they were like really weak guys.
Yeah, they were.
If something else died in the same hexagon as them, then they would get stronger, but it didn't happen very often.
Not unless you bundled them up with other things that could either soak damage or deal more.
True.
There was no way to have them gang up on one enemy?
It's very random in how they attack.
Okay.
And even the order in which they attack. Like Alex said, it's all just like, it all happens. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll attack first. And sometimes I would attack first, but a lot of times I would get attacked and I'd be like, oh, all my acolytes are dead. Well, fine then. Just hope that I can get another square and try and get to 80 victory points.
Did you end up hitting the view statistics after any of the skirmishes?
No.
So was really interesting about that is it took all of the units that were available and ran 1,000 simulations to figure out what the likelihood of the spread of victory points that you got would be.
Why?
Because
It's just kind of mean.
Well, it's
kinda
more
mean.
like it's more the fact of, are you a basic B or are you someone doing some weird funky stuff? Maybe.
That just made me think of Doctor Strange in Avengers when he's
yes,
viewing all the different outcomes, potentially. Yeah.
and I think it's an opportunity to show off. I am very smart, and I built an engine that can do this.
Okay,
Sure.
sure.
Yeah. That could be a thing.
Makes sense.
Do I like the answer? No.
No,
So do you think that so you think that this game has room to grow?
maybe.
Really? You think it's unsavable?
I'm not going to play it once it goes live.
But you're saying what we're saying. I guess what I'm saying is that if he were to make adjustments, shorten up the game timer, etc., etc., you don't think that this can
Maybe.
get to a playable state where you're psyched on it?
I think I would need to have more opportunity to set up my base starting faction and kind of have some element of, okay, these are the types of cards that I want to be available to me, not just anything from the whole pool.
Okay.
But
Okay. I could agree with that. Forgive me. Was there a tutorial? Did I
No.
miss it?
There's a video.
There-
There's a video
yeah.
you can watch.
Okay. I did not watch said video. I jumped into a match and I was like, all right, it's semi-intuitive. So I was able to pick it up and figure it out after a couple of rounds. But I think that in the same vein of what Alec is saying, there needs to be a bit more customization. Like, you are given one color to start, right? I think that would be a good idea. And then as the matches progress, as you play more skirmishes, you're given the opportunity to select like a secondary color.
yeah,
Because the way that it was like dropping the decks on you, it felt like this would be great if I knew more about each one of the color combinations and I could, have an opportunity to play them in that way. So start everybody out on a level playing field and then start to have you build your deck out from there.
I mean, but at that
Just-
point, then you're
just my
building a meta, and I think having access to everything right off the bat means there is less likely of a meta because it could just.
But you don't get everything right off the bat. Like, after each of the skirmishes, you get to select a card or a unit, but it's not the same every single time. So you're still building a meta with the two color combination that you have.
Okay.
or 3 or whatever.
Yeah. For somebody that has played previous game that Mr. Garfield has created,
Dr. Garfield.
I think I was looking for something that would be closer to that, or at least, I mean, I get some of the same thoughts and feels because you still have attack, you still have like defense for your characters, or
Yeah.
But-
They're basically the 3 stats: health, attack, and armor.
so it's a game. I'm not gonna run out and pick it up at release. It's plenty fine. That's a good way.
Yeah. I think that people who do love auto battlers and want something a little more complex will enjoy this.
Yeah.
So I played a lot of Frostpunk, and Frostpunk is that kind of base building game where you kind of set up what you want to happen and then you hit the fast forward and try to let it run as long as you can. This is like if I just pit one or two things and then hit go and then I can't stop, and it's like a half step, 2 hands off for a game for me of that style. So just a personal preference thing.
I think that that's generally the consensus for the podcast. I have not played an auto battler to the same extent or degree that Alex has in the past. Again, he did like a whole explanation of what it is and why he enjoyed it so much. Mm-hmm. I really prefer to have more control, and I agree.
Yeah.
But you could play it. It's a game.
It sounds like the magic did not gather you.
Oh, oh, Alex.
Am I wrong?
I'm sorry.
Am I wrong?
You tried.
So another thing that we did this week, at least I think.
I mean, I'm all Brickadia up here, over here.
You did what now?
Nothing.
Alex is all bricked up over there.
Yep, there you go.
You got one of them hot dog clogs?
No, which is funnier if you know what that phrase means, then you're back to your theme that you've been saying.
What theme is that?
Nothing. Don't worry about it. Keep moving.
I can't. I'm too smitten by this conversation. All right.
Google it.
Brickadia. We attempted Brickadia. So y'all know about this Steam Next Fest. There's a lot of games that they're just throwing at you, and they're fun. They're exciting.
Yep.
And then sometimes you pick a game like Brickadia and you don't know what to expect. I thought I was going to be playing with Legos here.
Legally distinct Legos.
Yeah.
Almost like they were
Not
called
to say.
Roblox.
Also legally distinct from Roblox.
That's a big oof.
I get that one. That's a good reference. Brickadia is attempting to knock out that Roblox formula in creating an engine where people would host their own servers and then kind of using the Brickadia engine build their own custom games. So anything from just like making a world for you to explore to tag to memory, like, you know, making just like hallways that you have to try to get your way through and figure out. Like, there's like lots of different types of games in these engines, and people often use these to like kind of make some money off of it. But since Brickadia is just a demo, people had just made some very baseline games, and there was some fun to be had. Alec, you were driving around in a car, you said?
Yeah, I did the Carland pre-made one and just kind of rode around in the different cars that they had available. I was it left me wanting a little more. Like, I couldn't run through walls. I couldn't destroy the cars. I was hoping that this would be more voxely, where everything was interactable with.
But I think part of that is like the person whose server it is has to allow that.
I created my own.
Oh, really? And you couldn't just like blow things up?
Nope.
Wow.
Certain fixtures were fixed.
Oh, bummer.
0 out of 10.
So it's more of like a so it's like prefab, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Instead of like a Lego set.
That was a critique to what Alec created, right?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even get to really too much of the creation mode.
It's pretty good that you dove into that, though, about like, you know, hosting your own server and then just trying to figure out some of the things that you could do.
Yeah.
People end up doing a lot of the like some really creative things. Like I've heard stories that like McDonald's started selling toys based off a Roblox free game that someone made. So it's kind of like you can there is room to spin off and make your own games and have them be in their own franchises in still the Roblox engine. So I can imagine the other companies trying to dig into that market. I mean, because it can't just be Roblox, right? There has to be some competitors. I've heard some sick like skateboarding games, like a really good Tony Hawk in Roblox that people have been talking about as well. But I mean, that's like another thing that they have said is that like the Grand Theft Auto 6 will be very similar in that vein because they want to get on that sweet Roblox money. Because at the same time, the people who do create that stuff and make their own money, the developers get a cut, right?
Hopefully.
Yes, that's what happened. The company gets a cut. So
Roblox, those games are developed and operated by separate developers. I mean, even those people we met at Summer Game Fest by that coffee place, they were working as developers using the Roblox platform. I mean, it's almost like Steam in that it's just a storefront where people can choose and play different games. And that's why if you see Pet Simulator X in stores, that's a Roblox game. Doors, like you mentioned before, that's Roblox. Stibbity Toilet, that's a YouTube series, but there's a Roblox game in there.
And actually,
Skibbity Toilet.
you actually find popular games in Roblox. Like we're gonna recreate this in Roblox. The popular VR game, Gorilla Tag. You see Monkey Tag in Roblox, and it's like, legally distinct from Gorilla Tag, but I've made my own version. Cost $1, and
There's also licensed tie-in games too. There's a one called Sonic Simulator, and it is just Sonic the Hedgehog and different races and collectibles and things.
Okay, so that's what that is, because I actually fell into a weird YouTube rabbit hole of people talking the different stats of the different characters of Sonic Simulator, and I'm like, I've not heard of this, but it scares me, and I don't need to continue down this rabbit hole, and I walked away, and now it makes sense to me that it's a Roblox thing.
It's one of the closest things to a game on Roblox, so it's pretty decent. All things considering.
What I was saying, Alec, is that somebody will sell a game for $1, they will make 50 cents. Roblox themselves will make 50 cents.
Yeah.
And so it's like, of course they like, and Roblox didn't have to do anything for that money. It's just free money because someone else did the work for them. So you can imagine things like Brickadia doing something like that and like, well, I want to get in on that, and GTA 6, right? I want to get in on that. Shoot. That sounds pretty good to me. I can imagine a world RPG maker, right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. There's some good ones out there for that, but...
Yeah, that have come out of it. But imagine a world where it just hosted. I'm going to go play 20-hour or even like a 5-hour JRPG, right? Just break it down into something simple and then put it in there. And I'm like, all I have to do is log on, pay, $5, and boom, I'm going to play this JRPG for a couple hours.
Yeah.
You could.
RPG Maker should be a Roblox. That's my pitch. Cut the check.
There was that game on PlayStation 3. It was like 3D Game Heroes.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of a Zelda-like game.
Yeah.
It's expensive now.
There was also that Dreams, right? PlayStation Dreams.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That was also the same idea, where some amazing stuff came out of that. The problem is that they refused to put it to PC, so it just got stuck on the PlayStation 4 and then died there.
That's a long list of instructional or learning games that my son says he wants to learn how to play games. I then get games? Something to enable him to do it, and then it sits there. So
make games?
Yeah. And then PlayStation to me, so,
But there are so many engines out. Like, you could just say, build something in Roblox, then we can talk about something big boy. Right? Proof of concept your Roblox, and then we'll talk.
He has lessons waiting in the wings for that, too. I paid for a program. Sure.
Yeah, give me a pitch deck. Ask him for a pitch deck. Tell him that you need to talk to his biz dev guy.
There's this game called Slap Battles, and they figured out how to do an instance with a boss at the end for a 4 or 5 person raid. And I watched them play this game, and I guess at some point in the game, if you don't beat the boss, you get soft locked into the game, where it'll just keep on throwing waves at you where you can't get to the boss and hit him. Okay. And he got upset at me because I said, that's bad game design. No, that's just how it is. No, it's bad game design. This was unintended. They didn't plan for this. You're just having to work around it. It's bad game design.
I think the part of it is that, what he needs to understand that there is, a level of, hey, I like this movie. It's great, but that movie does have some bad parts. No, I like that movie. I think they're not mutually exclusive.
Mm-hmm. It's still just a little too precious to him right now.
Yeah, let me tell you about Love Guru.
No, thank you.
No.
Nope. I don't think you're gonna have that conversation and enjoy
That
it.
movie rules. And it's a bad movie. It's a bad movie.
You know what? Cat in the Hat.
Uh-huh.
I enjoyed that one more than I expected.
You mean the
Mike
the-
Myers.
No. That's
It's
not what I'm
weird.
thinking of.
It's weird. But like I got some laughs at
It
it.
is a weird movie. Yes.
No, I was gonna say the
I will
Smash
give you
Mouth
that.
vehicle.
You just see the Smash Mouth movie?
Yeah, the vehicle, meaning that it was a movie just to put Smash Mouth songs in it.
Are you thinking about Shrek?
Shrek?
I thought no. Then what am I thinking of with Cat in the Hat? They had that whole song. What am I thinking of? What am I thinking
I'll
about?
take
Different
your
artists?
word for
Dude,
it. But you say
I have
Smash Mouth,
no
I think
idea.
All Star.
Yeah.
That's all they are to me. They might as well have been called All Star.
Yeah, Shrek. That's what
No, they
I'm
did.
at.
Everything's getting better, all the time. Getting so.
And I'm glad you remember that.
Yeah,
but-
that was like the thing when they're cleaning the whole house. It's just Smash Mouth.
It's just
So
Smash Mouth.
that you're arguing that the Cat in the Hat movie was just a vehicle
Mm-hmm.
for Smash Mouth to release an album?
Or at least music. Did y'all see that Curious George movie? That was just for Jack Johnson. Every 5 minutes was a Jack Johnson song.
That was
that
real
movie's-
good.
You say
That movie's real
Chad
bad.
Johnson?
What?
Chad Johnson?
Nope. And not Jake Johnson either. Jack Johnson.
Chad Johnson.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Ocho Cinco?
Twayne Turok Johnson.
If there was somebody named Twayne Turok Johnson, we would have to get them on the podcast to talk about Turok.
Don't make me Facebook look up somebody. I will find somebody.
You have your homework
But
assignment.
it has to be
Yep.
their own, like their actual factual name.
yeah,
think
they
it
need
just-
to show a birth certificate.
I think that was actually a thing. That was a thing in the game industry where there was like when Turok came out, there was a contest to name your kid Turok, and someone did, and then people were like, "That's really bad taste." But
Yeah.
Acclaim paid for that. They gave him money.
Didn't they do that with Elder Scrolls too,
Unaware.
as well? To name your kid Dovahkiin?
I sure hope not, but it could have happened. Who knows anymore?
Who knows, indeed.
I'd rather
Who
see
knows?
that than a Braden.
Ew.
All right, the game ended, and now we are taking a break. This is the news with Super GG Radio. Now with minimal everything, including news. Only one news today. Who wants news?
I'm going to add
want
one on the
news!
fly.
Okay.
So Tony Hawk 3 and 4 remakes were announced. And it just came out on this evening, the 6th, that Tony Hawk 4 is not going to have the original single-player mode.
It's funny because I said that and you all ignored me.
Or maybe I just didn't hear you because you were cutting out half the time.
Oh, that was Discord. I had to restart Discord. Once I
Yeah.
restarted it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently the story mode wasn't great in 4. I don't. 4 was my least
bullshit.
played one. Four,
Oh!
oh, you did
Story
it!
mode is
I
great
don't-
in that. Story
I don't
mode is
think
great
it
in that.
counts.
Like that's the big appeal of that game is that they took the structure of the first 3 and decided let's give you a whole world to explore and all this and do different side activities and stuff. And so it's clipping the wings of what made that game really good to play.
I
So
felt
no.
like 4 was the one where I was like, "There's diminishing returns here."
See, they changed the formula in a way that felt fundamentally different to me. But I know that Tony Hawk isn't your favorite skating.
I mean, it was at the time, but 3, I was like, "Okay, I could do another one of these." And then 4 came out, and I was like, "I don't know if I could keep doing this."
Yeah.
It was at such a
Yeah.
rapid clip. I stopped playing much for 4, and then when Thug came out, I played a bunch of Thug, and I was like, okay, now I think I'm done again. And then Thug 2 came out, and that was when I never finished.
Yeah, I missed 3, so when I got to 4, it felt like a big leap. But
3 was good. 3 was 2 and 3 are the best ones in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right.
So I'm excited for you to. I'm excited for you to play 3.
I'll consider it. Yeah.
He doesn't sound that excited.
I mean, again, the best ones.
Well, if Alex says it's the best ones, then it's probably true. Because if I learned anything, it's nothing. All right. Next piece of news. Only one piece of news this week.
Second piece of news.
One piece of news. The other one was bonus news.
Doesn't count in the overall total.
No, it does not. Last of Us series creator Neil Druckmann said, "Hope you liked the ending of Last of Us 2, because that's probably it." And as Alex learned this year, he did not like that ending.
No,
he felt
I did.
bad.
I did like it. I think that it was exactly how it was supposed to end. Like there was no recourse for what occurred.
Oh, it was all recourse. Everybody felt terrible.
Well, I mean, but at the end, like, there's no like, I'm gonna feel good again. It's like, no, you kind of made everything awful. I will say is that the funny part is I do remember them claiming this was a trilogy, and then they had kind of moved on to a new game right now. They're like Space Game, I think they have going on.
Space Game? Is that the technical title for it?
I don't remember off the cuff, but I remember that
Untitled Space Game.
We saw a trailer for it already, so
Would you call it intergalactic?
then
Maybe planetary.
while still mid development on this Space Game, they are now like, oh, okay, I don't know if we need to revisit The Last of Us. I think we kind of said all we needed to say.
Do you remember who said that and in what year?
No, but I can Google it if you prefer.
No, not the Google machine.
I mean, we got time if you want to take a minute.
Yeah, we'll
let him
dead
do
air.
it.
Yeah.
Because we don't have any other news unless we just make up some news.
Last I heard, they're making a Mortal Kombat Battle Royale, which I find interesting.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
This was 2 years ago.
100 scorpions jump out of a Kano.
I believe it was Neil Druckmann who said that. Yes, there's more story. The quote was, "There's more story to tell."
But he doesn't have to tell it.
Yeah. I mean,
Who's
apparently
listening?
he's just like, I think we've said what we needed to say.
I think that everybody's going to feel bad. Oh, maybe he's just going to tack it on to the TV show, and that'll be the ending that he really wanted. Who knows? That TV show's coming out soon, so...
I'm excited to feel bad.
Aren't we all?
Excited to feel bad.
Freebies?
Sure.
We got like 15 freebies this week.
I found that you guys don't like news, and you don't like the news I report, so now it's just freebies all the time.
Hold on.
This segment is getting
Hold on.
replaced. The segment is getting replaced by freebies.
There's something to be said about the news that I report. If we are reporting on news that other people have broken, then we are not a news outlet. And we are just rehashing and stating things that we found on the internet.
To have a conversation about it.
So, if that's what you actually wanted to do, then we could have a conversation.
No, I gave you the chance. Now it's freebies.
Freebies.
Freebies. Freebies.
It's important to have a balanced diet too. You know, this is like having one piece of broccoli on the plate and then just having 5 pieces of Boston cream pie or something.
It's all about those punchkis.
Freebies.
Did we actually get Alex talking about jelly-filled deep-fried dough earlier in the podcast?
I hope so.
Nope.
Do we know if that did get captured on? All right.
My recording's fine.
Here's
It was
hoping.
Discord.
I blame Discord for everything. All right, first freebie. Them's Fightin' Herds over on the Epic Game Store.
Initially pitched as a fighting game set in the My Little Pony universe. It's a fighting game featuring a cast of adorable animals designed by acclaimed cartoon producer Lauren Faust. Beneath the cute and cuddly surface, a serious fighter awaits.
Ooh, a serious fighter.
Yeah. It looks pretty fun and bombastic and cartoonish, very like Saturday morning cartoon. Lauren Faust is one of the animators for the original for the My Little Pony reboots that have been happening in the last like 10, 15 years.
Okay. Fancy. Next one. Terra Firma over on Steam.
You ever wanted to just make land? Like rise it out of the ocean and then just take tectonic plates and make them rub up against each other all sexual like to make mountains? Terra Firma. Play God and create your own world in this complex simulation. Plate tectonics, wind and water erosion, and plant life. There's double ands. That's not good. All develop and interact, third and in the same sentence, to produce a world that is viewable from a single tree to kilometers across. This is all about terraforming your own planet for funsies.
Yeah. I believe it.
Alex is a little bit too much into topography here, I think.
It's real. It's real sexual.
A lot of... I told you. Alex is canonically horny this year. That bit's not going to get old. You better get used to it. We still got, what, 9 months this year?
Bricked up, man.
Yeah, we do.
Bricked up on that magic mind. Let's go.
I'll get numb to it eventually, don't worry.
No, you won't. It will just get worse.
You are late.
But it's
URL, so it's a URL,
UR.
but late, is a short and free point-and-click adventure that immerses you in hand-drawn world filled with puzzles and mysteries to solve. This is like a cool little, like you're like a penguin in a cloak, moving around, clicking around, and trying to solve puzzles. I love point-and-click adventures. This one is free. Getty, if you're going to keep talking about horniness, I'm going to move past you.
Okay. Hope Guard on Steam.
This is a dark fantasy game about loss and acceptance. You've been chosen to eliminate the Dragon Queen, but the confrontation will not go as expected. Journey through caves, ruins, and forests to solve environmental puzzles and fulfill your quest, but with a new perspective. This looks a little like Diablo / the original God of War for PS1 with puzzle solving and then like a really kind of introspective story.
All right. Next one is Nugget Royale on Steam.
Battle Royale. Cluck, you're a chicken fighting for your survival in a factory farm. Don't fall into the gruesome grinder or you'll be turned into a chicken nugget. This reminds me of Fall Guys, but you're a bunch of chickens.
Chicken nugs.
Kind of into it.
All right. Is it something that we're going to see in a couch co-op kind of setting?
Oh, I can write this down. I can definitely write this down. There's lots of cosmetics. This looks kind of cool. Yeah, I can write this down. We can put this on a. We can put this in an extra life capacity.
Next one, Welcome Home on Steam.
This is a bone-chilling simulator that plunges you into the world of terror and intrigue, set in a decrepit and sinister house that you have just purchased. This game will test your courage as you navigate through the eerie halls of your new home. I can't imagine the house being that big, so I'm kind of confused as to what's going on here. But, I mean, isn't that enough to intrigue you? I know it.
I mean, if the house is haunted enough.
Yeah.
Well, okay, this free game that I'm seeing on Steam called Welcome Home just says, where home feels wrong and you're anything but welcome.
Oh, that's a different one. Yes, I was on the wrong one. This one is PlayStation 1 graphics. And it looks like you're going into your cult house.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, this is still creepy. Still creepy. Still cult-like. I think I might be into this one more.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this Welcome Home's way better. All right.
Last one. Century of Anticipation on Steam.
Locked away at home, time slows to a crawl. Enjoy our gift to you, the delightful adventure with an unforgettable soundtrack by Brazilian artists. This is very hand-drawn in the way that it is just white paper and pens, etches, and scrabbles of characters. But it seems pretty fun. Brazilian artists in the soundtrack, just kind of meandering around your house and with a little story in there. I think it's kind of wacky fun, and I am currently adding it to my account so I can play this bad boy.
All right. We make it to break. Let's discuss freedom. We're back with the Backlog Blog, where we play games. More specifically, Alex plays Monster Hunter Wilds. Woo!
Your enthusiasm.
I got it the day it came out. I have not been really taking it in as much as I normally would. I'm not like devouring it. The main reason is because I did just come off of beating Rise last year. I was behind on that one as well. And, you know, I just get a little bit like, I get a little fatigue. These games tend to be very involved. But on top of that, the more I play, the more I think that like Monster Hunter just is, it is not, this is not my Monster Hunter in that way. Joel, I got you into World, right?
Yes.
And then Alec,
it's not my first Monster Hunter game, to be clear.
But that was the one is that the one you really dug into, or did you dig into some of the other ones?
That's the one I spent the most number of hours in, yes.
Right. And Alec, you played some World with me, right?
Yes, I did.
So I always imagine Monster Hunter being kind of like a Red Dead Redemption 2, where it is very formulaic. It is very much stop. You have to sharpen your weapons. You have to cook your food. You have to craft your. It's a very step-by-step guide, and even just having like these giant epic battles, you're still having to know your weapon, know your positioning, know what buffs you have, how to debuff the monster, which parts to cut off, etc., etc. I could jump off this wall. I can climb this vine. I got to grab some items. You have to do the process. And I found that as the games continued, they've been making that process super kind of easy. So removing bits and pieces of that process. Now, with Wilds, there are portions of this game that kind of play themselves.
Yeah.
Whenever the mount that you have, it automatically, unless you press down on the D-pad, just goes. You get on your mount, and then it takes you to wherever you're supposed to be where it thinks you're supposed to be in the world. And that's kind of it's pretty good about it. But at the same time, I also just feel like what am I doing? It doesn't feel like I'm participating in the game anymore.
This is exactly the critique I had in the early adopters.
Okay. For which the
part? Auto battler.
Okay, yeah.
Auto battler.
Because it just feels like there's just fundamental parts. They have a section in the blacksmithing where it's like, oh, we could just make the best armor that is best for you. Here you go. Instead of kind of hemming and hawing, comparing numbers, comparing which different abilities that come on items you want. It's like, here you go, just do this. You don't even have to think. And I'm like, well,
wait, who determines what's best?
The game.
But it's a game. Yeah. Does it really know what's best for you?
Probably no. You can. I'm obviously not doing that stuff because I'm choosing how I want to play the game. But I'm just saying is that they've put this in there and they kind of really in your face like you could just do this and you could just do that and you don't have to do anything. And I'm like, but that's not the point for me. The point was I want to get in there and just Like I don't want to rush into fights. I want to sit there and analyze. I want to learn my combos. I want to do the moves that I'm supposed to do. And that stuff is still pretty complicated. Like they added every Monster Hunter, they, even though they have the same weapons, they do add new combo or abilities to them that make them just more interesting and intricate. In Rise, they gave you these wire bugs that essentially just became grapple hooks, and you could do special attacks with grapple hooks now. Every single weapon did that. So that was pretty cool. But now the new thing is they just have like just new energy abilities. So they start adding all these extra energy abilities. And that, complete with the fact that they really just lowered the difficulty, means that this is the most arcadey Monster Hunter there ever has been. Like, it's just...
So you could be done with this already. Right?
If I stuck to it, I'm playing like half an hour to an hour, like every other day. I'm like not really digging into it that much because I'm like, okay, I did the thing. The most I played was on stream, and it was fun, and I enjoyed it. The battles were good. I did the part from the beta test where the giant like electrical storm is happening while I'm fighting the monster. That was really fun and very. It was very cinematic. The problem is that one of the advertisements was that there will be weather changes and there'll be different seasons with different monsters, and it's like, oh, that different seasons with different monsters is part of the story. It's not like something that happens dynamically. I mean, it happens dynamically in a story mission. Wait, it's not dynamic because it's just scripted, right? It's a scripted, yeah. It's just scripted in these situations where it's like, now you're in the season of plenty and now there's different monsters. And I'm like, well, I guess that was just a thing that you made happen, not happened organically. But it's still Monster Hunter. I like the abilities. I'm still wailing on monsters, and I'm cutting them up for parts and taking their parts and bringing it to the way too attractive blacksmith, who does get, just like the monster, the cats when they're cooking. She gets like a 30-second animation of her,
really,
like putting her goggles down, wiping the sweat off, like getting something hot out of the oven and then cranking it with a hammer and then like presenting it. She's like swafting her hair. It's real silly. But, you know, it's Monster Hunter, so it's kind of like, oh yeah, these elaborate animations for someone to give you a new piece of armor. And of course, I never skip any of it because it's funny. But at the end of the day, I think that this is probably the easiest and most newbie-friendly Monster Hunter there is. So if you do want to play one and you don't want to get bogged down with systems, there has never been a better time to be a Monster Hunter fan. Also, this game looks terrible still. Okay, so the game can run fine, but the textures look like butt, and that's a optimization thing. That's not my card thing. It's just the game and having trouble trying to look at trying to look like what it wants to be. It's like, oh, we're gonna be this hyper realistic thing, and I'm like, do you really want to do that? Because you can't do that. Pop-in is crazy, and the animations get stuck, and there are occasional, we just forgot to insert, like all the voice lines are gone now for this cutscene for some reason.
That's not good.
Yeah, it comes in waves. I'm still just like, well, the monsters look all right. I'm writing this thing fast enough that I'm not really paying attention to how that wall texture looks bad. I'm smacking this thing with a giant axe that they just now added a feature. I use the charge blade, which is a sword and shield that I can charge up enough energy to put in my sword and shield, so now they have energy. And then I shove the sword into the shield, and now it's a giant axe. But now they added that the axe could turn into a buzzsaw, and now I just chainsaw the crap out of monsters. And the monsters are really just living their lives, and I'm just there to be a jerk. I want your bones, buzzsaw. So it's Monster Hunter.
With less
Imagine
systems.
the alternate reality where monsters are hunting us.
I did also want to throw a shout out to like you collect different resources like ore or bones and stuff like that. They added a real chef's kiss audio of you just reaching into a body of bones and rip and like really disconnecting those bones from each other and putting them in your bag. It's a real crisp audio on that one. I think that, good work. So, anybody want to play Monster Hunter?
Wow.
Nope. I like the systems.
Yeah.
I think that's my like my first Monster Hunter was Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, which is a Wii U version of the Wii game. And what struck me in the time playing that was the amount of investment. You have to get so much investment into preparing for a battle, just as much as actually going into the battle, where every time feels like this thing that is just filled with danger because you don't want to have to go through the process again, which makes you naturally more cautious, which then tends to get you to get yourself killed in the process. So there was a real thrill of sort of like climbing the mountain and defeating the monster in those, where even something like World, it was more arcadey, and I think that was sort of the perfect balance in terms of approachability.
Yeah.
So what you're describing here does not sound. It sounds more like the mobile game to me than it does a full-fledged game.
Yeah, I mean, it is everything that, like, again, all of that stuff still exists, but they also just really sanded down the edges to make it so. Like, I haven't really been cooking food. I haven't been checking my potions. I've just been like going into battles, and I have been carded once, and that was kind of a fluke. I got struck by lightning as the enemy punched me in the face at the exact same time. So I was like, "Oh,
nice!
That was perfect. It was a perfect
Environmental
storm."
hazards.
Yeah, it was, as they say, a perfect storm. But it's still there. But they definitely it's a lot easier with a lot less of the fuss about it. So I could see that for you. Yeah. I want to keep going though. I've heard like the same thing as always. I heard that the high rank mode, which is usually after the first sets of credits, is usually apparently when it gets to be Monster Hunter again. Like that thing that you're talking about, that preparation mode and getting all making sure you're really up there with your elemental damage and whatever. I think that happens in the back half of the end game. So I'm excited to get there, but it's not happening right now.
Sure.
Well, we'll get there eventually. Or will we? Until then, Joel can tell us about Futon and rocket launcher?
You get to shoot futons with the rocket launcher.
Yeah?
Can the futon touch the ground?
Not after you first shoot the futon with the rocket launcher.
Is that the game?
Launcher.
The game is to
That
try
is
to
the
keep
game.
it off the ground. Okay.
Juggling a futon?
You know when you're a kid, you might play a game where you have a balloon and everybody's in the room is just trying to keep it off the ground and
Bluey-
hitting it back.
I
Bluey
played
has-
that as an adult, sir.
Bluey has changed the name of that game. That game is now called Keepy Uppy.
I
Yeah,
don't
it is.
recognize Bluey as a standard format of naming conventions.
I mean, but you're just being America to Europe. You just
Or America to Canada.
or
America to
America
Mexico.
to Asia.
It's just-
America
just-
to Greenland.
You need to just get on the metric system, sir.
America to America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keepy Uppy. Keepy Uppy.
So Futon rocket launcher, it's what it is on the box. Basically, at most levels, it's a very short, dumb thing. It's like $4 and worth every penny. But it starts on a platform. Do you think like Smash Brothers, the home run contest thing where you're hitting the punching bag? It starts like that. You sort of aim it up and you shoot it with the rocket launcher. It flies into the air, and most of the goals for the levels are basically keep it flying in the air this much distance. And so you shoot in the air, and it's got a certain gravity to it. It's very slow and floaty, and not realistic at all. It is more
not
like
amazing
shooting
physics.
at a balloon with a tad extra weight to it. Because it'll start gravity. The gravity will fall quickly enough, but when you shoot it again, it just pops in the air like you've hit it with your hand, a balloon with your hand again. It sort of floats up again and kind of twists in the wind. And the geometry of where you're actually hitting the futon does matter. So there were a few times where I hit it in the wrong corner and started jumping behind me or going sideways from where I wanted to head it off to. But it's the actual act of shooting the futon is pretty fun. Very, very dumb, simplistic thing. And the longer stretches of levels, you'll also have pickups for extra rockets. For the farther distances they want you to bring. There were also levels where you had to get to a specific goal instead of just trying to keep it in the air. And when you finish the actual game, they do unlock little mini side missions and things like that too. But by the end of the game, you're also running through areas where there are giant pillars shooting lasers at you, and you then have to not only keep the futon in the air, but have to shoot at these laser shots to deflect them off away from the futon. So you get this kind of wild motion where you're shooting the futon sort of floating up and down. You then need to shoot it again to just get it right out of the way of a laser shot or something like that. And it's a lot more strategy than this game. It's a very one note kind of thing, but it's a fun experience. It's very silly, very one trick pony, but it does that one thing really good.
What made you pick this up?
Skimming through the new section.
Okay.
And I ran across this and went, it's kind of like that game where you're doing trick apologizing.
Oh, yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah, it's just, there's something about little games with just quirky ideas that when you don't have a lot of time, it's kind of nice to be able to just dip in, spend a half hour to an hour and think, okay, that was good. Move on.
That's when the publish, one of the developers, I think it wasn't Acclaim. Acclaim's in the news right now. That developer the publisher who released like 3 little indie games that was just just testing out engines basically. Durango.
Oh, was that Bandai?
There we go. Yeah, Bandai Namco did Durango Wonko and 2 other games, and I played them all, and it was just like you said. It was just like, oh, one idea, and we're just seeing how well this idea works.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of fun when they did that. So, well, maybe we can all grab our rocket launchers out and shoot some futons. Anybody have a spare futon? Anybody have a rocket launcher?
Yes.
I don't not have one.
Several.
I feel like that might not be legal, but okay. Anyway, we can move on to our one last thing. And this week's one last thing is brought to you by a tight, hour-long podcast.
Yeah.
Short, sweet, to the point.
With editing, it's definitely going to be shorter than an hour.
Yeah, I think it'll be close. There were a couple of breaks. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. My one last thing. I feel like I'm supposed to be playing something, but I don't know. Truly, this year, a lot of good games. I think that it's just going to become more difficult as the year moves on, though. There's just going to be too much. I'm going to have to get Borderlands at some point.
I'm kind of thinking maybe like unleashing Getty on Sekiro. Just saying, Getty, do Sekiro, because I'm kind of curious how fast he would decimate us.
I can't play it until you guys hit the 30-hour mark, right? So you have to have played the entire time that it would take a normal person to finish it before I can get the flag to start. The green flag, Joel, right? That's the go flag?
Yep. Joel, we definitely need an hour count from you.
No.
6.
When you next time you load up Sekiro, instead of going to start game, go to load game and check your hour count.
All right.
Cool.
I'm sure I spent a lot more time than I should have with how far I am.
It's all fine. I won't be around at the beginning of next week, so we'll see if I'm even available for the podcast. Alex?
I'm kind of just hanging out playing some Sekiro. I made some progress. I came back to it and I was like, oh man, this was not. It was me just hitting myself in the face for a long time because I could not remember how to play that game. But I'm back. It's good. I'm very happy about that.
Joel?
So my son plays this game called Slap Battles on Roblox, and I played it with him once as there's like a arena battle where it is just you Roblox character with a hand that you can slap people with, and then there are upgradable hands that you can have different abilities and stuff tied to it. It gets real silly, but he's gotten really into the PvE side of it, which is a whole dungeon with a boss at the end with different waves. And he asked me to sit down, and if you played something like WoW or anything, even just like an instance there with 5 people, that's kind of what it is. And he got frustrated because his brother didn't want to play anymore, so I offered, and he started talking about how, well, you're gonna have to train and you're gonna have to prepare, and I said, I watched you, I know what this is. Like, you don't understand. I've played more games. I played games for longer than you've been born. I understand the language.
Ask me how many hours I've had in Overwatch. Rocket League.
You should have just turned on Sekiro, handed him the controller, and been like, you want to go?
He walks away very quickly when I turn on Street Fighter. Oh, you want to play? No.
Yeah, that's right. Take a walk.
I was born
Which
into this.
Street Fighter?
Alpha 3.
The worst
Who
one.
do you mean? Any Street Fighter.
That is also true.
Yeah, I just was curious which one you loaded up.
Yeah.
Alpha 3 is his go-to.
That is the one I've dumped the most time in. Yeah.
Oh, all right, Alec.
I'm going to start playing Suikoden, and we'll see how long that goes.
Do we have... What's the hour count on how long to beat? Do we know how long it should take?
I think we did this before. 'Cause I said
26?
Yeah, because I'd made comments about how long those games are, and then it's like, oh no, it's not that bad.
No, does
21 hours
I think
on
of Persona.
Suikoden.
Yeah, Suikoden. Suikoden 1's 21 hours, Suikoden 2's 33.
Persona. Joel, do I have a game for you? It's called Metaphor Refantasio.
Expedition 33.
Sorry, I don't have a PlayStation.
It's on PC.
Yeah.
It's on Xbox. It was on...
It's on everything.
Yeah, it's on
What are you talking about?
I'll find an excuse for the other platforms. Just give me a minute.
Expedition 33.
Sure. Isn't that just like free on Xbox
Is it
Live?
on
Don't you
Game
have
Pass?
Xbox Live?
It
Is
might
it
be
on
on
Game
Game
Pass
Pass
right
yeah.
now?
I'm sure. Go play that.
Oh yeah.
Expedition 33 isn't out. Don't you put that bad juju on me, Alex.
No, I said, but that's like a Persona game.
It sure looks like it. Okay. I guess that could be it. That'll do it for this week's episode of Super GG Radio. Before we go, you can find us on Blue Sky at Super GG Radio and twitch.tv/Super GG Radio, where Thursdays, much like tonight, you can come and watch us make complete fools out of ourselves, and even watch some of the technical difficulties that we might have. Was Alex trapped in the same picture frame for a while, with the same face? Who knows? You'd have to log into Twitch to find out. It for sure happened at least once. Otherwise, I'm sure that somebody else has other streaming announcements. Anybody?
I'm back to streaming on Wednesdays. I haven't figured out if I'm going to keep doing Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is always a good time, so maybe I'll keep up with that. That or Marvel Rivals, which is also fun.
It's a commitment.
I'm continuing to pick away at achievements on Frostpunk. I am chipping away at Sekiro. I've got more progress to make on that one. I got stopped pretty hard by that first boss. So
Okay.
It's a good one.
So we'll hopefully have more video games another day. If you'd like to reach us with questions or input, our email address is mail@superggradio.com, and provide us a review on iTunes or the podcast app of your choice. You can check out our Patreon, get monthly pictures of our pups, get your name read off as an executive producer, free copies of Early Adopters, and even get a chance to play games with us, the nerds of Super GG Radio. That's right, y'all are nerds.
hell yeah.
Nerd.
thanks for listening, and good game, Alex.
GG, Getty.
Good game, Joel.
Good game.
Good game, Alec.
GG.
Podcast done. We finish.
It's almost Mario Day.